Hello, all, and welcome to the Second City Hockey Ice Cold podcast of SB Nation for Second City Hockey. I'm Robert Zaglinski, co-hosting, and as always, joined by Adam Hess. Adam, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying some hot pizza the way it should be and some cold beer.
Oh, okay, we'll ask Taylor about that towards the end. But we have Taylor Baird joining us from defending Big D of SB Nation as well, Stars fanatic, managing editor there. Taylor, how are you tonight?
I'm good. The Stars won today, so feeling good.
Feeling good, feeling good. Taylor, let's get right into it. What has been, Adam and I wanted to ask, what has been the reason for the Stars sort of rise this season into being a contender and the success that they've joined on an overall level, as awkward as that sounds?
I think it's a couple of different things. I think it's those big moves made by Jim Nill. I mean, Jim Nill has completely come in and changed the entire look of this roster. He identified in the first season we need strong centers. He went out and he got Tyler Seguin. Then he goes out the next year, he gets Jason Spezza. Then he says, "Hey, we need another top six forward. Let's trade you, for Patrick Sharp, and we'll give you our Trevor Daley, and you guys have fun with that."
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and then I mean, he hasn't always had 100% home runs, but for the most part, he's made very shrewd moves, and he's also let some of the talent that Dallas has kind of been stockpiling over the last few seasons. He's kind of let them come in and try to give them a role that they can be successful in. And then I think the other thing is just the emergence of John Klingberg on the back end. I don't think anybody saw Klingberg, who's a fifth-round pick, kind of come out of nowhere and be the second highest scoring defenseman in the league this year as a sophomore. So I think the emergence of him, and I mean, let's be honest, our blue line leaves a little something to be desired. And that's okay. Rome was not built in a night, so there's still work to do on that end. But we've got so many guys down below, Steven Johns, Julius Honka, Issa Lindell, that I mean, the Stars are going to be pretty set for years with cost-controlled, manageable assets on that back end. And I think next season Jim Nill is going to look like a pure genius for the contract that he signed John Klingberg to.
Taylor, even with the Stars having a strong season, they've been struggling a little bit of late. They have just 3 wins since February 16th. So what's been going wrong for them of late, and how come they've been struggling in the past month or so?
It's a combination of things. I think they kind of lost sight of their game as a whole, as a team. So they've been kind of struggling with trying to get back to how they were at the beginning of the season. We started to see, teams, and down the stretch you kind of expect this. Teams kind of have seen enough tape on you; they kind of know what's what, and so they're able to kind of contain some of that high octane offense that we have. And so what they've been struggling to do is keep pucks out of their own net, and then also trying to score enough to win every night. And unfortunately, this league isn't one where you can say first to 6 wins. Although we try to play that game too. So I think that a combination of the forwards not supporting their defense, the defense being very porous, the penalty kill that has absolutely stuck it up, and then goaltending, which still is below league average, which, I mean, when you're sinking $10 million into that position, you kind of expect better results, we'll say. So I think the combination of all those things have kind of led to the Stars, not doing so hot. And then at the same time, it's also partly the schedule. I mean, in February, everybody looked at February and said if they could just go 500 that month, it's a win, because it was nothing but divisional matchups. And then in the East, you're playing the Rangers and the Bruins, and you're not playing any team in that February schedule that was an automatic win. And so with the Stars going 7-5-2 in February, I was like, hey, that's awesome, and I'll take it, because at the beginning of the season I said 500 and I'm happy.
We do have to give credit to Jim Nill and what he's built, but also have to ask the question, why did he trade for Chris Russell and not Dan Hughes? I mean, it's documented that Chris Russell's maybe not the best defenseman, to put it nicely. How would you characterize that trade at the deadline?
It was. I think people look at this trade as in terms of the here and now and what Chris Russell is bringing to the roster, but I think you also have to look at it in a little bit more of a holistic viewpoint. He moved out guy. Granted, Yurki Yokopaka is pretty young and could still develop, but I mean, the Stars probably felt that he pretty much had tapped out at a 6'7" guy. And we have about 4 of those already on the roster. And, with him becoming, I want to say that he was one of the ones that was going to be a restricted free agent this summer. And then you've got Jamie Alexiak also back there. You have Jordy Ben, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent, who's kind of a 6'7" guy. I think that even if Russell ends up not really necessarily being what the Stars envision him being, that if nothing else, Nil has kind of helped to clear one more space in that backlog, and hopefully, even with off-season losses and unrestricted free agents, you're going to end up with some spots available for a Honka, for a Johns, for a Lindell to come up and kind of take a roster spot. So I don't think that you can discredit the trade wholeheartedly, because that's an important dynamic that you need to be concerned about. So the other thing is, we've got this guy who everybody says, his one good trait quality is he blocks a lot of shots, which is awesome. But he kind of looked a little bit more of a lateral move. So to me, it's more the clearing out of another roster spot and being able to give yourself that flexibility in the off season to potentially call somebody up and have them steal a spot.
Why did the Dan Hughes trade fall through? Is that from the Stars then? I sort of get the sense that it was more from Vancouver, but what's the sense there in Dallas?
I think the sense is that Vancouver, or at least everything that I heard and have read, is that Vancouver came back at the last minute and tried to get them to sweeten the pot. And honestly, I kind of viewed the rumors of Stars being interested in Chris Russell as a stalking horse for Dan Hughes. I think it was more like a game of chicken where they were like, well, if you don't want to give him to us at the price we're willing to pay, then, we've got other options. And so I think that's kind of what happened there. And I think the Stars ended up pulling the trigger, like I said, for all of those long-term benefits, as well as, they're not necessarily making themselves worse in the short term. If anything, Russell is just like a Jordy Ben, is just like an Alexiak, just like a Yoki Pocket, who's going to turn in and out of that third pair. So, at the end of the day, it's a lateral move, and I think Vancouver honestly was like, hey, we want, everything under the sun. And I think if they said we want Honka, Johns, Lindell, any of those guys, Jim Nill hangs the phone up on you. So, I mean, Cam Hughes is not worth a blue line prospect. So.
Right.
You talked about John Klingberg's rise, and just from watching the Stars, it seems like a lot of what they do goes through him, and he's like a focal point and one of their more important players, if not the most. So he was injured this past week in the loss to the Devils. I saw that it was considered short-term, but what's the status update on him, and how long do you guys expect him to be out, and what kind of potential hit might that have on the Stars team?
Well, so I think the latest that we heard is it's day-to-day. He's day-to-day, but he didn't travel with the team to Canada for their 2-game swing. They played Ottawa today. They play Montreal on Tuesday, and then we don't play again until we play Chicago on Friday. So even if he misses these 2 games, it's a week that he's had to kind of rest whatever that lower body is. And when you look at the play that he got injured on, it looked like he was kind of turned, and he took this shot kind of to the back, almost like in the kidney area, and I think it probably tweaked a groin muscle if I had to guess, and I'm not a doctor in any way, shape, or form, so that's a very highly uneducated opinion.
WebMD?
Yeah, WebMD. I Googled it. Yeah, no, so I think that's what's ending up happening is I don't expect to see him, even though they said if he feels better, he could meet the team for the Montreal game. I don't expect to see him there. And to be honest, if you're gonna losing to Montreal is probably not ideal, because you really should beat them, even if you're down Klingberg, just because that team is a tire fire right now. But I think we end up seeing him back, versus Chicago. I'd be surprised if he's not back for that big division home and home excuse me, back to back at home that we have against Chicago and St. Louis. So this coming weekend. So I think he's going to be back. I think it was better than we thought it was, and honestly, as long as he's healthy, we see him this weekend.
You touched on it a little bit, goaltending, the defense, a lot of third-pair type guys. What's the biggest concern in Dallas as far as how the team's playing and just in general? What's the biggest concern for them on the ice?
Can I say everything?
Everything? Okay, fair enough.
I think the only thing we don't worry about is scoring goals every night. To be perfectly honest, to be perfectly frank, I think the more recent trend of Jamie Benn struggling is starting to worry a lot of Stars fans. We've got bigger things to worry about, like getting Patrick Sharp back and getting.
Patrick Sharp was also injured. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is also injured, and getting Patrick Eames back. That's kind of two pieces that have helped with the power play and big parts of the top six here recently. So, and then obviously getting Klingberg back is a big deal. But the goaltending has been kind of But tonight Kari Lettinen comes in and he locks it down, and he allows only one goal on a kind of freak redirect. So. They have moments of brilliance. It's just consistent brilliance is what we're kind of looking for, and it's been absent all season long, and really worries fans heading down the stretch here. And then also just what do you do when you get to the playoffs and you have two goaltenders that you're kind of like, I don't really like either one of you.
Right.
Like who do you feel more confident with in net? Well, some nights it's Niemi, and you go, man, he's on fire, and then some nights it's not, and he gets 4 goals scored on him and gets pulled.
Yeah.
So, there's really no good answer there, and I think that's really concerning for the playoffs, because what do you do? Who's your number one? Who's your go-to? And I think these next 15 games are really going to be used to figure out who you roll with in the playoffs.
So kind of on that note, what is the outlook for Stars fans this year in terms of the hope that they have in terms of playoff contention, and what would you consider a realistic outcome for the Stars at the end of this season?
So we started the year, and I actually just wrote about this on Defending Big D just a few days ago in an airport. I was sitting at the airport, and I'm like, man, how much our expectations have changed. At the beginning of the year, it was, we have enough firepower, we should be top 3 in the conference.
Right.
But let's just make the playoffs and see what happens, because, obviously the whole thing is you make the postseason and anything can happen, and we saw that when the Kings as an 8 seed came up and won Stanley Cup. So I'm not saying that that's the Stars. They have enough holes, and I think the expectation was always for us to at least win the first round. So for me, I'm more looking at what matchup would I prefer to have in the first round, and the answer is anything but Colorado. Because for whatever reason, Colorado is in Dallas's head, and we cannot seem to beat them here recently, and it's the worst thing in the world because they're not a good team. But you have Varley, and Varley can steal a series. So for my money, I think if you end up second in the Central and you get a matchup with St. Louis, bring it on. I think the Stars can beat them just by sheer willpower of scoring, if nothing for no other reason. I think we'd also match up well against Nashville. So if we were to finish first, that wouldn't be too bad as long as the 8 seed is Nashville. Just not Colorado.
So a first round win, you would say, is the minimum expectation.
That's the minimum. And honestly, I think anything past that is just gravy. Uh,
Because
I
you're still
would
building.
love to see the Western. I would love to see us in the Western Conference Finals. I have a friend who works for the Washington Capitals, and about 2 weeks into the season, he said Stars Caps Stanley Cup Final, and he called that. And I said, if that's the case, I'm happy. My liver won't be, but I'm happy. Um, but I think the important thing is that the Stars need to start getting some kind of a success in the postseason, because when you got Jamie Benn coming up for contract here soon, and you've got Sagan at just a couple seasons away, and you need to extend both of those guys as big pieces of your core, you want them to not only like playing here because they love playing here and they love Dallas, but also that they can win here. And that's why Spezza re-signed here, and that's why you went out and spent $10 million on goaltending. All of the moves that have been made are a big, giant, sign that says we're ready, we're going for it, we're opening our window. So that's what I think it needs to be, is a first round, at least a first round win this season, and then next season you recalibrate and you try to build on that.
Okay, perfect. Adam didn't want me to ask you, but I guess we're going to sort of make it our podcast shtick.
Okay.
That we ask all of our guests. What's your opinion on cold pizza? Is it good?
Cold pizza.
Yeah, cold pizza.
Absolutely hate it.
Thank
Not
you.
Oh my God.
We have a smart, good opinion person on the podcast. Our first one.
Well, why do you hate it? Why do you hate it? Hold on. At least you got to justify it. Why do you hate it?
I mean, pizza is meant to be like dripping hot, cheesy goodness. Why on earth would I eat cold cheese and bread and tomato sauce?
Well, I'm not saying
Preach
as a
it.
preference
Preach
over.
it. You should
Not
write
saying
a
as
book.
I'm not saying as a preference over hot pizza. I'm saying like you go out and order some pizza and you leave it out overnight. I mean, you can't keep it heated. You're not going to
Robert,
eat that
you're
cold
gonna
pizza in the
lose.
morning.
You're gonna lose this
You're
one.
not going to eat that cold pizza in the morning. No, I
No,
have to.
no, I'm not. I could not be hungover enough to make me eat that.
Oh my.
No, all
Robert,
night? No way.
Robert, I've taken the L on this with our last three guests, and so
All right,
I think it's time for you to just
I'm
take an
3-1,
L.
man. It's fine. I'm 3-1. I'm fine. It's wins. Thanks, Taylor. Other than your final opinion, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. That's Taylor Baird, managing editor over at Defending Big Deep SB Nation. Follow her work. Follow all of her fantastic writers' work as the Stars push through for the postseason. You can also follow her on Twitter at Taylor D Baird. Yeah, thanks again for coming on, Taylor.
No problem. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks,
You
you
too.
too.
All right, well, man, cold pizza is still fantastic, but let's move on. So, Adam, recent week for the Hawks since the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Been pretty peachy. 3-1, obviously, notwithstanding the Bruins loss on a back-to-back. But I gotta say, I like what I'm seeing. There are some things to note or be maybe a little concerned about on my end. But how do you think that the Hawks have looked since they've traded for guys like Ladd and Dale Weiss and such?
Allow me to restart. I think that they have looked a lot better. I think that when you look at the game we talked about last week with the Capitals, where it was just a fast-paced game, they looked like they were playing a lot of fun. It was a playoff pace, both teams going at it, and we had the two best goalies going head-to-head. And then they play Detroit, and it's a very similar situation where it's two good teams. Detroit has had their struggles this year. They're not quite what they used to be, obviously, but when you have Petr Mrazek, who's another one of the top goalies in the NHL this year, going against Crawford, that was a great matchup, and that was a lot of fun. And so having that was good. And then the game in Dallas, like you said, it was on a back-to-back, so it's a forgivable loss. Boston. Yeah, the game in Boston, it's a back-to-back, so it's a forgivable loss. You move on from it. Dallas, I keep saying Dallas. Boston came out and looked good. Boston looked good. The Hawks were a little slow, but again, they're on a back-to-back where they had to travel. And then today, they struggled in the second period, but I thought for the most part they played well enough, and they deserved the win. Corey Crawford was huge as usual. And as much as you prefer to see the Hawks play a little bit better, when you have Corey Crawford, who's consistently been able to show that he can perform at that level, when the Hawks are maybe struggling a little bit and getting outshot in the second period, like you can forgive those kind of periods, especially when they come back and are strong in the third as well. So I thought the Hawks have looked a lot better, and I think when you think about it, we still haven't seen this team fully come into shape yet because we still don't have Marion Hossa back.
Or Marcus Kruger.
Or Marcus Kruger, right. So as soon as those two guys come back into the lineup, which, Hossa should be soon, and Kruger could be by the end of the year now, Q says, then that could be a huge, like when we see that come together, that will be a lot more telltale for the playoffs. But I think what we see now as an unfinished project or product is as an unfinished product, what we see now is good enough that we are able to say, okay, this looks good. The finished product will be better, and that's encouraging.
I do have to say that 10 years ago, you probably wouldn't look to a week where you played Detroit twice, but seeing how the Hawks have torn them apart and seeing how Detroit can completely control play for almost 40 minutes and then a superior team like the Blackhawks, it's almost as if it's a role reversal from the 90s. I saw this sentiment on Twitter during the game today. It's fantastic. I mean, the Red Wings controlled play for a good portion of the game and then almost effortlessly within 30 or 45 seconds, 2 goals, game, set, match.
Mm-hmm.
For all the things of the rivalry or the old rivalry, it's really impressive to see. How do you think Ladd has sort of transitioned in well? I think it's almost as if he hasn't missed a beat, and he never even played with Taves when he was here in his first stint. So if to see him have chemistry with Taves, it's actually really encouraging.
Yeah, I agree. I think he has looked very good. I think, the production, I think he has like a goal and an assist so far.
3 points in 4 games.
3 points in 4 games. Yeah. So that's obviously a good pace. It's going to come a lot more too as Hossa gets in that mix. That line's going to look a lot better, but I think Ladd has looked good. I don't really think that I've sat here and thought, wow, like Andrew Ladd has been such an amazing pickup. He's been so good. But like at the same time, like, he has played well enough to that you look at it and you say that trade was very much worth it. He's played well and he's going to continue to play well and he'll be big in the playoffs.
It's just about, I think that trade wasn't necessarily about like picking up a guy that's going to be, have 85 points in a season. It was about giving a legitimate partner for Taves and Hossa.
Right, exactly.
That line. That's what it was more about. I mean, Ladd we'd probably characterize as a guy in that second tier, maybe third tier. He's still a star. He's not a superstar by any means, but he's a perfect guy to have in that first line, the top 6 guy, and it's fit well so far. What I've liked, despite his scratch today, I think Christian Ehrhoff has actually been pretty good. I think Aaron wouldn't necessarily be happy about it, but I think Bowman, Fleestein, Lombardi, and the Kings pretty well, given how Q has trusted Ehrhoff. Ehrhoff, in the 2 games he actually played, was third in ice time in both against the Red Wings and the Bruins. So he's getting pairing time with Hjalmarsson. He's getting defensive zone starts. The concern with Ehrhoff, I guess, was injuries and durability, but it hasn't really shown off so far. The question of whether we said that the puck possession system that the Hawks employ would be better for him, I think it's coming to fruition. Today's scratch, again, notwithstanding.
Right, yeah. I think today's scratch to me was sort of confusing. When I look at how he's played in the 2 games that he had appeared with in Detroit and Boston, I thought he looked fine. I shouldn't even say fine. I thought he looked good. He made some good defensive plays. He moves the puck well. His offensive instincts are, obvious. Like you said, his fit in the system here is a lot better because the Kings like to kind of slow down and play a little bit boring. That's how they control possession. The Blackhawks control possession by trying to bring the game at you and try to make it fast paced. And so that fits Ehrhoff's game a lot. So I think he's looked good. His, scratch today was a little strange, but I think as the season winds on, you can't have guys play every single game unless they're Jonathan Taves or Duncan Keith. You can't rely on them. You don't want to wear guys out. And so maybe that's a little bit that kind of plays into it. And I think Ehrhoff will be a key contributor as we go down the stretch and into the playoffs as well.
The thing I think we have to note is that Ehrhoff is still in that phase where has to 100% earn Joel Quenneville's trust. It's actually interesting to me to see that Dale Weiss hasn't played with Table yet in 2 games. I understand that maybe it's because Hossa hasn't returned, or maybe because Q trusts Desjardins more next to Tavo, at least until Shaw moves back in his spot in the 4th line. But ideally, wouldn't you want Weiss to get as much time with the center he's going to be playing with in spring?
I think so. I think that I don't think Weiss's defensive game is really strong enough for him to be a fourth line center. I know that he's considered a little bit of a two-way player, but I think I'd prefer him to be with Tavo. But at the same time, ever since Fleischman kind of joined that line has looked a lot stronger. So I think Q's just kind of rolling with what's working for now. I think we will see Weiss there. I think that will be sort of the playoff, more long-term option. But I think for now, with Fleischman and Tavo and Desjardins together having some strong success, playing a lot better, looking a lot better, I think that Q's just kind of riding the hot hand, and we'll see how that develops.
All right, we have one of the tougher stretches coming up of the season. I hate to say how that it's maybe inherently crucial, because even if the Hawks flounder, I mean they're still going to be in the playoffs. But it's a big week if you want to win the Central Division, if you want to set yourself up for home ice in the playoffs. The Blackhawks now have at St. Louis on Wednesday, at Dallas on Friday. I'll be there. Woo! And at home against the Canes on Monday. So
which I'll be at.
I'll also be there, so one up to there. But anyway.
Wait, you're going to be at the Kings game too?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, interesting. Anyway, continue.
So, yeah, a big stretch of games here against probably the three Western Conference powerhouses, the Ducks notwithstanding, which I think we should actually get into them. But 3 straight games, 3 straight important Western Conference contending style games. What do we want the Hawks to get out of this, Adam?
I think okay.
Ideally, obviously 3 wins, but
right. Okay, so you want 3 wins. Obviously, you want 6 points. I think you look at the matchups. Okay, so we have St. Louis. The Blackhawks, I think, should beat St. Louis. I don't think that St. Louis is a team that the Hawks should be losing to. But this, especially in this stretch. So I think you need to beat the Blues. I think Dallas is kind of a little bit of a toss-up where I'm not. The Stars are a good team, but I'm not overly concerned about regular season losses to them. They've kind of had the Hawks number this year, but we've seen even when that happens in the past with the Hawks, they can have playoff success. And this is a team that's at this point is now built for the playoffs and is kind of eyeing up those playoffs. So a regular season loss wouldn't be the big deal. And then the Kings, I think the Kings are obviously a good team, but I think you have to beat them because they've had a little bit of a struggle of late. They're not quite on top of their game. They have some injuries, so I think you have to beat the Kings, and you have to take advantage of Rob Scuderi. And I think we need to hang 5 goals while Rob Scuderi is on the ice. And
Christian Ehrhoff a hat trick.
That's what I was about to say. Christian Ehrhoff gets a hat trick and dangles Rob Scuderi, walks Rob Scuderi on the way.
I think, to me, there's no reason they shouldn't get the 6 points too, considering that the Blues are injured. For whatever the Blues are pretty hot right now. I'm not sure. I think it's 5 of their last 6 games they've won. They've actually been playing quite well considering all the injuries they've had on their back end. But there's no reason you shouldn't win that game. Dallas, this is also all things considered that the Blackhawks are going to have a full complement of lineup, especially if Hossa comes back on Wednesday. So they'll have their full forward lineup, sans Marcus Kruger, Ehrhoff in. And, I mean, the Kings, and this is what I wanted to get into, because I'm not necessarily as concerned about the Kings as I would be in the past. I consider them necessarily a top Western Conference rival, but the Blackhawks should also win that game. The thing with me is another team in the Pacific who are ridiculously hot, 17-1 in their last 17-1 in their last 19 games. The Anaheim Ducks, they've won 11 straight. I know it's a typical Bruce Boudreau team winning regular season games and such, but they look pretty good, and honestly, they consider me much more than the Kings do, Adam.
I think, I don't know. Teams can get hot in the regular season. That happens. We see it all the time. I think that the Ducks will do what the Ducks do, and they will somehow lose in the playoffs in a game.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying
I think
right now.
I don't know. I think I don't think the Hawks play the Ducks anymore this year. They're done with the Ducks this season. I'm looking at the schedule right now. So
I just wanted to bring it up since the Kings, because the Kings lost to them twice in 4 days. So.
The Kings. Like I said, the Kings have kind of been sputtering, and so that's a game I think that you have to win if you're the Blackhawks. The Ducks are having on a good run. They're having a lot of success, and that's good for that team.
Corey
And
Perry still being classic trash, slime ball and such.
of course, and Getzlaf was hurt for the last game, and they won. That line brawl between them and LA yesterday was freaking awesome. If you haven't seen it, go watch it because it's hilarious. And those teams hate each other, and fuck Anaheim. That's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm. Well, fuck both objectively.
Yeah, but fuck Anaheim more.
Okay.
Fair. I don't need to be objective. I hate Anaheim a lot more than I hate the Kings. I hate the Kings out of like a respectful hate. I hate the Ducks out of like a spiteful fuck you kind of hate. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I feel you.
Yeah.
Go on.
So yeah. I mean, I think it's good that the Ducks have had that success, but Bruce Boudreau has lost home game sevens. I think it's like 5 or 6 years in a row now between two different teams, the Capitals and the Ducks. So. As much as they're having a hot season, I feel like every single year we're looking at where the media, everyone loves the Ducks. Everyone loves the Ducks. They're so good. But then they get in the playoffs, and last year they walked into the Western Conference Final by playing the two worst playoff teams, and then this year they losing a Game 7 again at home. And this year I don't think will really be much different, except for that they're going to have to run into LA, and I think LA is going to beat them.
Yeah, it's just something that I brought up. It's just something to keep my eye on for the Blackhawks, and on the other side of the Western Conference bracket, Ryan Getzlaf is, as we noted, he's still bald. Bruce Boudreau is still perennial choker,
and Corey Perry still eats trash for breakfast.
He still eats trash for breakfast. So there's still that. I mean, it's just funny to me when I see prominent NHL media members. We're not going to name who it is for potential that he would ever listen to this, but that the Ducks are on a 145-point pace based off of their recent 7-game winning streak. So can we just take every team's winning streak and apply that over an 82-game season? You know the tweet I'm talking about.
I know.
It made me really mad.
But here's the thing about that. Like, okay, so the Ducks are at a 145-point pace. That's great. Give them the President's Trophy. The last team to win the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup was the Blackhawks in 2013. The last team to do it before them, I think it had been like 10 years or something like that.
The Red Wings, in 08, right? No, Red Wings.
That might have been it. Yeah, okay. So, but still, like you look at that, in the last 10 years, that's 2 teams. So yeah, okay, I was wrong on that. It was only 5 years before the Hawks did it, but that's two teams. So in 10 years, we've had, I think 9 President's Trophy winners because of the lockout in 2004. But you have 10 years, 9 President's Trophy winners, 2 of them went on to win the Stanley Cup. That's 22%. So the Ducks can have their 145-point pace. They can have their strong season. They can come for the President's Trophy. They can take it from the Capitals if they want. I don't think they're going to get there. I'm just, I'm kind of extrapolating.
Well, of course they're not going to get to the 145-point pace. It's just that I was talking more about how the media, like, objectively singles that out off of a winning streak.
And I guess my point is,
they can have it.
Yeah, your point too. They can have it. It's silly to sort of point that out because, I mean, again, I don't want to get into like the regular season doesn't matter thing, but at the end of the day, once the playoffs start, like the regular season matters to determine who's in the playoffs, but once the playoffs start, everything is wiped clean. Whoever had the most points, all that does is determine who plays at home, and home ice, isn't all that valuable, especially when you're the Ducks and like. You sell tickets for $20 on the glass, and you don't draw a lot of home. Last week Aaron joked that if the Ducks and the Kings played a series, it'd be 7 Kings home games. Like the Ducks, I guess, don't draw a lot of good fans, and so home ice won't matter that much for them. And again, the Ducks are the Ducks, and they're a good team. They'll beat the Blackhawks as part of this run. I was there. It was a frustrating loss in overtime, but it's. At the same time, it's the regular season, and they can have their run if they want. I'm not going to jump on this bandwagon of holy shit, the Ducks are so good.
Okay, just something to monitor. Just getting your thoughts.
And I mean, and again, I don't want to, be too negative on the Ducks, but at the same time, they needed a run like this because they started the year so shitty. Like,
yeah,
they were so bad to start the year that
no one thought they would make the playoffs. They had like 45 goals in like 20 games. I mean,
yeah, it took Getzlaf until like January to get a 5-on-5 goal or something like that. Like that's crazy. They had a horrible year. So you look at a run like this, like, wow, it's so impressive. At the same time, like if the Ducks are the team that a lot of us thought the Ducks were in terms of being a good team and hopefully a Stanley Cup contender, hopefully in terms of, the media, like they needed a run like this to maintain that. And in a lot of ways, this is just them correcting the bad start to the season. So it's more of like a regression than it is like an impressive run, I think, in a lot of ways. I mean, not to take away that it's an impressive run. 17 game, winning 17 out of 19 games is obviously impressive, but at the same time, it's like a market correction. You know what I mean? They're adjusting because of the horrible start. So I think that, as impressive as it is, and as great as it is for them, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun for their fans, all 20 of them. It's I'm not overly concerned about it because I still think that they're, but I think that they're lower on my list in terms of playoff threats. I think I'm a lot more nervous about running into the Kings in the Western Conference Final than the Ducks.
The Kings would probably be the only team that I'm worried about in all essence in the Western Conference, but we'll talk about that as we get closer to the playoffs. Blackhawks, tough stretch coming up again. Blues and Stars on the road, home against the Kings as they try to set themselves up to win the Central Division. 15 games left in the regular season, 87 points. We'll see how that plays out. Adam, let's move over to the Hockey World Cup coming up in late August and September. Rosters announced, jerseys displayed, all of the hoopla, the hockey world going crazy. Yeah, you and I talked about it. Like, let's just go through teams that we think are sleepers, the rosters we like, our favorite jerseys. Let's start with the obvious favorite. I mean, in all objective measure, it's Canada, right? I mean, they have the best roster. They're loaded at every position. Their jerseys even relatively sick, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Canada has the best overall roster, which, I mean,
that's not surprising.
Right, it's not surprising at all. I think you look at
Corey Crawford.
Yeah, Corey Crawford made the team, which is good. I don't know that I think he'll kind of be the third goalie behind Price and Holtby, but I think one thing to kind of monitor there, because I mean Crawford can end up. I don't think he'll be their starter.
He will not be. Price will probably be the starter.
Price will probably be the starter, and Holtby as number 2. But I think I wonder the severity of Price's injury this year. He was injured, came back from injury way too early, and re-injured it. He's been out since, and I think he's been out now since November, which is a long time. And I might be wrong on this, but I feel like I heard that they're shutting him down for the year. So if he's out for the rest of the season, that obviously he'll have a lot of time to recoup. But how much will that kind of take him off of his game? He's not going to have a training camp before the World Cup because the World Cup is kind of in lieu of the training camp. So if he's kind of rusty, maybe Crawford can kind of sneak in and be impressive, especially if he can make a run in a Stanley Cup. And if it ends up being Hawks Capitals in the Stanley Cup final, and maybe Crawford puts on a show and completely outdoes Holtby, maybe Crawford can kind of work his way in there. That's kind of a long shot. In some ways, kind of putting a lot of pressure. Yeah, it's like it's definitely a possibility. And I think that I think it's a possibility. I don't think that it's going. I don't want to say that that's what's going to happen. It could happen, but I think he'll be the third goalie. But I think at the same time, being named to represent Canada, which he's never done before at any level, the way that he's risen for the Blackhawks to become obviously
a top 3 goalie.
Yeah, a top 3 goalie in the NHL, because those other 2 guys are easily the best. So when you look at Crawford, that makes him the third best goalie in a lot of ways. Maybe the best goalie in the NHL this year. Probably, I think he'll probably end up being at least a Vezina finalist or finish somewhere in the top 5 for the voting. So the rise from, I think he was drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round. So the rise from that draft pick to, working, he spent like 5 years with Rockford, like, the way that he has worked his way up to the NHL and become a star and, arguably the Blackhawks' most important player is just like, it's impressive as hell. And it's awesome to see it rewarded by being named to, the most prestigious national team to make.
Yeah. No, continue.
I don't know. I think I'm kind of done with the Crawford point, but I think another good roster is Sweden. They're pretty stacked. You and I were talking about it before we started recording, just Hjalmarsson, Hedman, Eriksson, the Sedins, Landeskog, Louis Eriksson, Backstrom. Their lineup is stacked. Henrik Lundqvist in goal for them. Like, they're going to be a good team. Lundqvist is kind of getting old. He's kind of backing off a little bit of what he used to be, but at the same time, he's still an amazing goalie, and they're going to be a good team. and I think they can give Canada a run for their money for sure.
I neglected to mention, and I apologize, 9 Blackhawks, unless I'm mistaken, 9 Blackhawks named to a World Cup hockey roster. So obviously the marquee team in the league, talent-wise. Nicholas Hjalmarsson, Marian Hossa, or Nicholas Hjalmarsson for Sweden, right? The only Swede,
Yeah.
because Marcus Kruger's been injured. So I'm doing this off the top of my head. I know I have it in front of me, but I want to do it off the top of my head. Marian Hossa for Team Europe. Taves, Keith, Crawford for Canada, Kane for America. Who else am I missing? And then Panarin and Anisimov for Russia. Is that it?
No, Teuvo for Finland.
Oh, and then Teuvo for Finland.
Is that all of them? I think there's one more.
Let me look across the rosters if we're just doing this right now.
Hang on. We got the 3 Canadians: Crawford, Keith, Taves, and then Hjalmarsson,
Teuvo,
Panarin, and Anisimov, and Kane, and Hossa. Yeah, that's all of them.
Okay, so that's 10.
No, that's 9.
That's 9. Okay, I wasn't a math person when I was.
That's still okay. I think Blackhawks. Let's talk real quick. Blackhawks to keep your eye on for being named to World Cup rosters down the line, because those were obviously preliminary with only 16. I think Kruger will make Sweden. He was on their Olympic team.
Yeah.
I think I'll ask you. I'll play your role now. Who do you think are Blackhawks to keep the eye on for being named to other rosters?
Being named to other rosters. Well, I mean, I think for the most part you could say other guys like Ehrhoff, but Germany's not necessarily have representation. I think really Kruger's the only guy that still has another shot. For the most part, everyone else is represented. I mean, Dale Weiss and Thomas Fleischmann aren't going to be representing their countries. For example, I think Fleischmann's Slovenian, unless I'm mistaken. I might be talking out of my ass there, but yeah, I don't think he's not exactly a world-class Olympic tournament forward that they would name up anyway. Yeah, I think Kruger's the only one, man. To be honest, Kruger's the only one that's still there.
Yeah, I think I want to keep my eye on Kruger making it. I think that there's potential that maybe not really necessarily a Blackhawk, but Ville Pokka. When you look at Finland,
okay.
When you look at Finland's defense, I think Pokka could have an outside shot at maybe being their 7th guy. He's had a good year in Rockford, and when their 4th defenseman is Esa Lindell, who I'll be completely honest with you, I had never ever heard of before in my whole life, and he plays in the division. And then I think also potentially for Czech Republic we could see Michael Roosevelt, because I think it's weird when you look at Czech Republic's team, they have whoever Michael Kempny is, he plays in the KHL, and then they have Radko Gudas and Roman Polak. I don't think either one of those guys are better than Michael Roosevelt on the back end. We sometimes give Roosevelt some flack here in Chicago, but he is still a good,
solid third pair defenseman. Yes.
Yeah, he's still he's not necessarily fast, but he can still move the puck pretty well. Good skater, positionally sound. So I think he could make Czech Republic as well. So yeah, I think that if we keep an eye on those 3 Hawks, Kruger, Roosevelt, and Pokka, those 3 guys could possibly have an outside shot at making some rosters.
Blackhawks potentially could have 12 representatives in addition to that 9. Adam, in your mind, who's a sleeper team that's not being looked upon as one of the primary contenders for this World Cup? I mean, we didn't mention Russia, but they're not a sleeper contender. They also have a loaded roster. That's also a team to keep an eye on with Panarin and Anisimov, Ovechkin, and such. But who's the sleeper team of one of the other? I'm not going to say lesser countries because that sounds bad, but you know what I mean when I say lesser countries.
Yeah, I think that the North American Young Guns team, I think they're being discounted because they're younger and whatever. I think that when you look at that roster, like that's a lot of the best young players, and like that roster is like the future of the NHL. And like McDavid, Eichel, Sean Monahan, Johnny Gaudreau, Brandon Saad, Nathan McKinnon, JT Miller. The defense is Aaron Ekblad, who is already an elite defenseman in the NHL. Seth Jones, who's another really good defenseman already. Ryan Murray's pretty good. Morgan Riley's pretty good. Their one hole will be goaltending, and if I think Connor Hellebuck should probably be their starter. I think he's a little better than John Gibson. I think that Edmonton or Winnipeg is not playing Hellebuck because they're trying to bottom out and tank a little bit. But I think their one weakness will be goaltending. But I think that they are going to be a team that can make some noise and kind of surprise people. And I don't want to say I think that they would win it, but I would not be shocked to see them give both Canada and Sweden a run for their money a little bit, because that team is stacked. And they're going to, I mean, honestly, if there's one thing that this team's going to do, they're going to skate around you and over you and through you, because there's a whole lot of speed on that team.
I have to say I kind of like the Finland roster. I mean, they're pretty set. I mean, they're pretty set, at least at starter, at goalie, Tuukka Rask, Sami Vatanen, Olli Mata. On defense, they have some nice, good forwards there. Alexander Barkov for the Panthers, a rising center. Tavo, obviously, Valtteri Filppula, Leo Komarov. There's some nice, good talent, young talent there on that roster too. They have no chance of winning it, but they're also, again, one of those teams. The defense is probably their weakness. Maybe forward depth leaving a little to be desired. But, I mean, a team with Tavo, I can't not root for, considering the young talent they have. You know, he's our special boy. So,
right, and I think I was kind of I'm sort of shifting topics here, but I was very disappointed by the Team USA roster. We tend to kind of, especially, I think Canada sometimes drives it because they're so annoying about it being their sport. But I think, we look at, we want to be able to have pride in the Team USA team. And I think that they just they completely fucked up.
Absolutely fucked up. They absolutely fucked up.
I don't think that this roster is built to even make a lot of noise. I think that I think that they're going to be one of the worst teams in the competition. Their number one defenseman is going to be Dustin Byfuglien. Maybe you could put Ryan Suter in that conversation. But then, Corey Schneider is going to be their goalie, which he's fantastic. I heard Barry Melrose was on SportsCenter after they announced, because that's where they announced the Team USA roster. And Barry Melrose said that there should be no question that Jonathan Quick should be the starter. And I wanted to jump through the television and choke Barry Melrose out and ask him why the hell he gets paid to talk about hockey on ESPN if he can't.
Well, he didn't last long as a coach, so.
That's true. And then, Corey Schneider, in some ways is the New Jersey Devils, and could probably be in the Hart Trophy talks this year because the way he's carried that team. He is the best American goalie bar none. He should be the starter. He will be the starter. I don't really think there's that much of a question. Jonathan Quick, everyone likes to talk him up, but he's really just a league average goalie.
He is not elite. He is not elite.
No, but I think I think that probably the absolute most inexcusable worst roster addition in the World Cup is Justin Abdelkader being on Team USA. And he's not even having a good year, and they didn't even name Phil Kessel to the initial roster. Justin Abdelkader, maybe he brings some grit, but Phil Kessel is one of the three best American players, at least in terms of forwards. It's just shocking that he's not on the team.
Well, Dean Lombardi isn't having the best stretch of a week here. And so he's also the general manager for the American roster. I think you're neglecting that to mention. But
I tweeted that. I said, between trading for Rob Scuderi and picking Abdelkader over Kessel, Lombardi's not having a very good week.
What are other snubs that you're sort of looking at, roster snubs, across all of the rosters? I think a really notable one is Mark-Edouard Vlasic over PK Subban off of the preliminary roster. PK Subban he's a top 4 defenseman in this league. To not name him to the initial roster, he's definitely going to be on there. It's not going to be Brent Seabrook, and we won't also mention that conversation. It won't be Brent Seabrook. It's going to be Subban. But to me, that was the most egregious error. I don't know what Doug Armstrong is doing. Vlasic, he's a good, fine defenseman. He does his job well. He's a good puck mover, but he's nowhere near the superstar or talent level that Subban brings and the skill level that Subban brings to the ice.
Well, here's I'm going to have a little bit of a hot take here, but I think what's more inexcusable than Vlasic over Subban is Shea Weber over Subban. Because as good as Shea Weber is talked up to be, he's really in a lot of ways somewhat disappointing. I don't think that I think that
this season, yes.
he's not the Predators' best defenseman. And I know Roman Josi made Team Russia, which is what he's absolutely deserved. But he's not the Predators' best defenseman, and he's not better than PK Subban in any way, shape, or form. Yes, he has a hell of a shot, and I would never want to be standing in front of that if you put 10 mattresses in front of me, because he'd probably break all 10 mattresses. But he he has a hell of a shot. He's a good skater, pretty good in his defensive zone, plays a physical game, but he's not better than PK Subban. And PK Subban, I mean, I in a lot of ways, I know that realistically he's probably not, but I think when you consider that he's in a system like with Michael Tierin that's so boring, and that Tierin doesn't want to open that team up, PK Subban should, and probably, I mean, he probably is the best defenseman in the NHL, and it should be a lot more obvious. I think if PK Subban was on the Chicago Blackhawks, he'd be the best player in the NHL because of the way Joel Quenneville would take advantage of that skill set that Michael Tierin or Michel Tierin is not doing. And I don't say Michel because make a sexist joke. That's actually how his name is pronounced. Just a clarification here. Yeah. But I think that is ridiculous that Weber and Vlasic are both good defensemen, like you said, but I think Subban should have been, I think the conversation for defense should have gone, okay, we're naming 4. Okay, Subban, Doughty, Keith, and who else? Like, it's so easy. It's almost like, why did they not do it? And I know it's sort of dumb to get worked up over a 16-man preliminary roster, but
yeah.
PK Subban is just like one of the best defensemen in the NHL, and he's much better than Vlasic and much better than Weber. And I think it's just kind of weird that they felt the need to include those two guys who are, I mean, I think they're both deserving. I think they both should be there, but I don't know that they should have been a part of this initial announcement. But I think Subban will be there, and I think TJ Rhodey will join Team Canada as well, of the Calgary Flames, and maybe Mark Giordano of the Flames as well. Canada's going to be in a tough spot with defensemen because they have a lot of good options still left over for them.
You also have to note that Doug Armstrong is Canada's GM,
and he's also the GM of the Blues, which is telling.
Yeah, so there's that thing. There's that in terms of the decision making and the roster decision making. Other snubs. There's also Shane Godesbear for North America for the young guys team. I mean, I think honestly he should be. He has a league leading production rate considering he only came in around mid-season for the Flyers. So that's a rookie that's lighting up the league.
Yeah. I think for Canada, Taylor Hall should have been in the conversation.
Corey Perry for all the slash and try. He's still a great player.
Well, here's the thing that confused me is that the duck that Team Canada went with is Ryan Getzlaf over Corey Perry, whereas, I mean, to get real for a second and to sort of back off the Corey Perry trashing, Corey Perry's having a really good year, and Ryan Getzlaf is not. And so I think it's just really weird that they chose Getzlaf over Perry. Again, it's initial. Perry will probably be there. But I think when you just look at like this initial announcement, it's sort of weird that they went with, Getzlaf over Perry. And I think that it's sort of confusing to me that they went with Jeff Carter over Taylor Hall. Jeff Carter is, one of the better Kings players and one of the better Canadian players, but I think he's played a lot of he's played a lot of wing this year as well. So I think if they intended to be a center, it makes sense. But when you look at the centers on that team, Tavares, Taves, Stamkos, Sagan, Getzlaf, like Jeff Carter doesn't have a spot there, and I didn't even name Sidney Crosby in that group, so Sidney Crosby as well. Carter doesn't have a spot there. Taylor Hall slots in perfectly next to any one of those 3 players. So it's just weird to me that Hall doesn't make the team, Perry doesn't make the team, but Ryan Getzlaf and Jeff Carter do.
People are also talking about John Klingberg, but all things considered, the Swedish loaded defense as well. That's not all too surprising. He's still probably going to make the roster. That also was kind of a note to me as to why the second leading NHL scoring defenseman, a fantastic puck mover, didn't make a good Swedish team. I mean,
yeah, but I think at the same time, you look at that roster that Sweden has, the 4 defensemen that they named are Oliver Ekman-Larsson, lock to make the team. Victor Hedman, lock to make the team. Nicholas Hjalmarsson, lock to make the team. Erik Karlsson, lock to make the team. And I don't really think that you look at any of those 4 players, like as good as Klingberg is, I don't know that he is offhand better than any one of those four.
Hmm.
You could make the case for Hjalmarsson, but they play different games, and Hjalmarsson's game is so valuable, and he's such a household name. Whereas
Chalmerson,
Klingberg's kind of coming on the scene this year. Hjalmarsson's a household name, been on the scene. So I think when you look at this team, I don't think anyone's looking at that Sweden roster and thinking, wow, they shouldn't – like there's nobody there that you go, Klingberg should have been named over that guy like we've kind of been doing.
absolutely.
Klingberg will be there, and he's a notable leave-off, but at the same time, there's really no one else that they were going to take off the initial roster to put Klingberg there.
I don't even think you can make the case for Hjalmarsson. Hjalmarsson's the best defensive defenseman in the league, and he's a fantastic puck mover, clearing it out of the zone. I don't think you can't make a case for any of those four defensemen. Those four defensemen are all in the top 10 in the league in terms of, in my mind, of like their skill level and talent level and the things they've accomplished. But that's just another guy to talk about. Adam, just sort of your final thoughts on the World Cup. I mean, it's not for obviously several months, but your thoughts on the final preliminary rosters and the favorites and the snubs and all that crap.
I think the favorite has to be Canada. They've 2 gold medals in the Olympics in a row. I think they won the 2004 World Cup as well, which, a lot of those players aren't around, but that team, Canada is, the premier international team. And so they're going to be good. I think my early prediction for the final is going to be Team Canada versus Team North America. I think that they are going to be impressive. And I'm going to root. I think I'm going to root for Team North America. I think that's the team that I want to succeed. I think they'll be USA. They'll be my number 1 because they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think USA will be my number 2. And then I'll root for Teuvo Teravainen, but I won't root for Finland. And then I think that. So I think I'd like to see Canada versus North America as the final, but I think Canada will win. And I think that Team Europe has a horrible jersey.
Oh, yeah, we were also supposed to talk about jerseys. Okay, I will say – sorry, I forgot about that. I will say Canada over Sweden in the final. I'm in love with that Swedish roster. They're absolutely loaded. Let's talk jerseys since everyone likes to talk jerseys. Who has the worst? Who has the best?
Okay, the worst jersey is easily Team Europe. Okay. Say what you want to say. Say what you want to say. Sorry. Okay. Team Europe's jersey is, I hope you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, look it up. But the jersey is split down the middle with one side being like a royal-ish blue and the other side being like a navy blue. And then one cool part of it is that on the royal blue side, the right cuff, which is the right side, the right cuff of the jersey is back to the navy blue, and you can't really see it on the jersey, but they said that around the ring above the cuff is all the countries in Europe that are represented on that team. I was reading that even Croatia, who doesn't have a player on the team and won't have a player on the team, is represented on that jersey, and that's cool because Croatia can watch the World Cup and think we want Team Europe to win. We're represented there even if we don't have a player there. That's pretty cool. But the jersey overall is ugly. The logo is ugly. I know it's supposed to be an E. It looks stupid as shit, and I don't like it. And I think that the logo and the jersey are bad.
I mean, I think Team Europe has the best jersey. Maybe I'm a guy with bad taste, but I love the color scheme there. I love the aesthetic. I think the E looks sick. I also, like you mentioned on the cuff, the representation of different countries like Croatia that don't necessarily have representation. I like Sweden's with their classic colors and the 3 crowns. Also, it's a really minimalistic.
Sweden's is the best, and not only that. Sweden's is the best, but one thing that I think is really cool is, okay, Adidas.
Describe it before you say.
Okay, so it's, their home is blue with a white cuff on the bottom, or a yellow cuff along the bottom and along the bottoms of the sleeves, but very simple, with, the typical Trey Conor, which is the 3 crowns on the logo or on the chest. I think that Adidas took this design, this is a lock. You can't mess with this. It's perfection already. You can't really mess with perfection, but they tinkered with perfection to make it look awesome. It's clean as shit, and the detail on the 3 crowns on top is super cool. And I think they're going to be the best dressed. And one of the things I love about Sweden is that they have the blue home and the yellow away, and the yellow is just inverse with the blue cuff. and the blue crowns. And, it always forces color on color, which I think is so cool and always so much fun to look at. And I think that they're going to be the best dressed team at the World Cup.
I think you'll agree with me. At least have them as your second worst. The Team North America jersey is abhorrent. I know you hate black, so you also. I know you'll rail this, but I don't know what that logo is. That triangle with the N and the A, the generic black with the silver stripes on the sleeves. Stripes in the sleeves. I don't know what Adidas was doing there. Is this supposed to be like a new generation? Is this supposed to be like I don't know if you've ever seen Any Given Sunday, sort of like how those jerseys look in that movie. Just really tacky color schemes, really tacky design. It looks like it's like 10 or 15 years from now, like a jersey. Like it kind of looks like the modern NFL jersey designs, and I hate it. My buddy was actually saying how he absolutely wants one, and I had my mind blown. The fact that Adidas will promote that for the younger team.
I think that I like to read Aesthetics. I don't know if you read that, but they're great. They cover a lot of the NHL jerseys and hockey jerseys in general. And I was reading that. I don't know who runs that website, but he is very good. And he was saying that Adidas's approach here was to kind of target younger people, and a lot of younger people love this jersey. I'm not one of those younger people that loves this jersey. You're obviously not one of those younger people that loves this jersey. We're both 21 years old, and we're both looking at this jersey that's like, I don't really know what's going on here. I think that the more I've looked at the jersey, the more it's kind of grown on me. The more I hate, the less I hate it. I still don't like it. I think that the logo, I thought it was funny. Aaron, who we loved it to bring up apparently, noted that the logo
Twitter's
looks like he looks like it looks like the personal logo of a graphic designer whose initials are NA.
Like a signature, yeah.
So if you're like if you're a graphic designer and your name is Nick Anderson or Nathan Adams or something like that, look at this logo and maybe you can draw some inspiration for your graphic designing logo. I don't think it's very good. The white one is a lot better than the black one. The white one, I think that the white one and the black one are a very good lesson in why white jerseys can sometimes be very much better than the colored jerseys. You said I don't like black jerseys. I do hate black jerseys. I think that they're all bad. And I tend to be drawn a little bit more towards the white jerseys because I think more can be done with them. Even though, you think white jersey, it's plain, but I think their white jersey looks okay. It's likable. This black jersey I don't like at all. And I thought that picture of Connor McDavid was really funny that was making the rounds with all the photoshops. When I saw that picture, I thought if the jersey doesn't look any better, and he looks miserable wearing it. And I'm not going to like watching. I'm going to watch this team. I'm going to like watching them. I'm just not going to like watching them in that black jersey.
And I'm not normally a fan of black jerseys either. I think the only like NHL jersey I would appreciate, or like any black jersey I'll appreciate in professional sports, is probably the Bruins black and yellow. I think what you noted from Aesthetics, how they were trying to appeal to younger people. I think a lot of people in our generation and age group appreciate black too much. That black is such a color. It's such a generic color that anybody can have. There's no creativity in my mind involved in it. And it doesn't pop. In my mind, a jersey's got to pop a little bit. Black is like, oh man, it's sick, it's dark, it's badass.
Yeah.
Man, fuck that. It has there's no pop or flair. I hate it.
Yeah, I think that
I'm old school. Maybe I'm old school. There's
one good black jersey in the NHL and one decent black jersey in the NHL. And the only good black jersey in the NHL, in my opinion, is the Pittsburgh Penguins third jersey, which is their throwback kind of style jersey that they wore in the 90s. That jersey is beautiful, and that is the ideal black jersey. And if you read Aesthetics, which I am pretty regular on there, next year for the 16-17 NHL season, Pittsburgh is slated for brand new home and road jerseys, which they think that's Aesthetics thinks that third jersey is going to become their home jersey, and they're going to get the white version back for their road jersey, and they're going to look fantastic next year if they do that. So that black jersey is good. The good white, or the other good black jersey that I kind of like is the Islanders' third black jersey, which I know a lot of people hate. I think that those are pretty clean and they're nice to look at. And the Bruins, I don't like to do the original 6, so whatever thing, but the Bruins is a classic black jersey. It's not like they tried to modernize it and make it black, so that one is tolerable as well. But I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, at least they didn't modernize it to Team North America or to make it look like any given Sunday. You know what I'm talking about. It's too much. It's too much popped out. But we'll move from that. Again, World Cup of Hockey coming up in late August and September. Jerseys shown off. Preliminary rosters announced that later on. Obviously, guys like PK Subban and everyone else should make Team Canada and respectively other guys.
If I can do one more note on the jerseys, I think just Team USA's white jersey is one of the best jerseys in the tournament. It will be fantastic. I like that they got rid of the logo and went just with the letters, and I think that jersey is near perfection, and I think the white jersey is going to be fantastic, and they should just wear it for every single game they play. The blue one's not bad, but just wear the white ones all the time. Anyway, moving on from that.
I just want to take a look at that before we take a look at the next segment. Okay, no, I can agree with that. It's pretty simplistic too. So
yeah, but the thing is, sometimes the simple jerseys and the clean look is perfect. And also, I would just like to say, a lot of people I think were nervous about this NHL takeover. I hope that they don't do the 3 stripes down the side on all NHL jerseys like they did on this. But I think the way that they did it with these, the Adidas did their 3 stripes on these World Cup jerseys is tolerable, is well done. It's pretty well hidden. I do hope that they don't stick out like that on NHL jerseys and be contrasting on the sides, especially if they ruin the Blackhawks jersey like that. But I think overall Adidas did a good job by getting their branding in there without distracting from the jersey. I hope they can just find a better way to do so with NHL jerseys when they take over in 17-18.
All right, perfect. Moving on from the World Cup, our final topic. Adam, we talked about this a little bit with everybody at SCH and within each other. Your best or favorite Mario games? I mean, you can go from kart, you can go from Mario Party, you can go from classic 2D. This has been like the iconic video game character, obviously. And if you're in any sense, you don't have to be a big gamer. You've played Mario in some kind of fashion across all of those different brands. Your favorite, and let's try to get like a consensus, like, I don't know, top 3 or 5.
Okay, I'll just give you my top 5, and you can see where you line up. So for me, number 1 is Mario Kart, and I can play any.
Well, which one?
I can play any of them. I think maybe Mario Kart's just the best overall Nintendo game. I think my favorite Mario Kart is either Double Dash or the original. The original is really frustrating if you are more used to some of the newer ones, but I think that Double Dash is lots of fun. And I like Mario Kart 8. I have a Wii U. Mario Kart 8 is lots of fun. I like the way that they've kind of modernized it and made it more fun for today's generation of gaming. Number 2, Smash Bros. Number 3, Super Mario World. Number 4, Luigi's Mansion for GameCube is one of the best. I think that's one of the most fun games I've ever played. And number 5 would be Yoshi's World. Any generation. I have Woolly World for my Wii U, and I think that's fun as well.
I think, before I say my top 5, I think Mario Kart 8 is absolutely the best. I think a lot of people, sometimes people get this too nostalgic with the originals and such. I mean, I know you can play like crazy games with the original. People still do it at parties or when they had get-togethers with their friends, but you can still do the same with Mario Kart 8. And newer is better, how they've modernized it and the control schemes and the stages and the characters available. I mean,
right. And I think
that's a sequel. It's still good.
That's been my argument with Smash Bros. For a long time. Everyone says that the original is the best. The original is fun, is
12
good.
characters and
the original,
8 stages.
The original is good, but it's not better than the new one. It's, you can be nostalgic, but don't be overly nostalgic where you neglect what Nintendo has done. You know what I mean? Like, no one looks at the Blackhawks in 2000, the 1926 Blackhawks and goes, that was the best Blackhawks team ever because they're the original.
Some people do. Some
fuck
people
no.
might.
The 2013 Blackhawks are probably the best Blackhawks team ever, and because they had to progress and grow, and you improve on things. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what Nintendo has done with these video games. So anyway, make your list.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have Mario Kart 8 as number 5. I'll go backwards.
Okay.
I'll have Super Mario Galaxy number 4. I think that was like the first game. I wasn't a fan of the Wii control scheme. I'm still not used to it. I barely play my. I really don't touch my Wii at all anymore. I have the Wii U, and you buy one of those like Pro controllers, right? You know, so it makes it easier on you. So, but Super Mario Galaxy was the one game that I enjoyed there. Really changed the franchise in my mind. Are we counting? See, because it's tough. I get
You
don't.
wanted this topic, so you better have thought this over.
No. I didn't think this over but that's why I have a debate, man. I have a debate because a lot of people didn't like this game. They didn't like it. They thought it was a step back for the franchise. In my mind, it is my favorite. I'm skipping ahead 2 and 3. In my mind, it is my favorite Mario game ever. Do you know what I'm going to say or no? Super Mario Sunshine. Super Mario Sunshine. The best Mario game, or my favorite Mario game ever. I don't care how limited it was. I don't care how stupid the water blasters were and the different levels and the painting. And it maybe not have been the classic Mario format. It wasn't in Mushroom Kingdom. Whatever crap criticisms you have, Super Mario Sunshine, in my mind, is the best Mario game ever. As far as like, I'd have 2D games. I think Super Mario World is the second best. I think that was the best 2D Mario that's ever worked through. And then the original Super Mario, as much as I crapped on nostalgia, you can still for me, I can play that in an hour and beat it, considering how simplistic it is and how I've memorized it. You know, if I just want to relax or something before I go to sleep, like I have it downloaded through through Wii U's digital console. So, you know, I appreciate it. I like it. It's obviously not the best. Super Mario World's better. There have been better iterations since then, but it's in my top 5. But Super Mario Sunshine, controversial, hot take, best Mario game ever. Best Mario game ever.
That's your best game ever? Wow.
It's my favorite Mario game. I mean, I wouldn't really consider Smash Bros. Mario game because it's all the different Nintendo franchises together. I wouldn't consider that a Mario. Mario Kart.
I didn't know we were getting okay. If we are doing Mario, okay, then I would. If we're just doing strictly Mario games, then I named 2 that don't count. So I would have to go Mario Kart. Actually, I named 3 because I don't know if Luigi's Mansion should count as a Mario game.
I would count Luigi's Mansion because that's
okay.
in the Mario universe.
So then I would say, okay, so then I'm going to redo my list, and I'm actually going to rework where some of them are at. Because if we're sticking to simply Mario games, I think it's Mario Kart, which, again, I don't really care which edition. 8's probably my favorite, but I like Double Dash as well. Mario Kart, and then Luigi's Mansion for GameCube was fantastic. And then I think Mario Party is awesome. I love Mario Party. I have 10 for the Wii U, and it's fun. Actually, they've kind of ruined it with 9 and 10. It's a little less fun because you have to like sit in a cart and get carried around with everybody. You don't play individually.
Yeah, you don't play the game necessarily across the board. I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
So it's a little different now, but I still love Mario Party. It will still always be one of my favorites. And then I would say Super Mario World, or whatever the Mario, whatever I can't even think of the Mario World, whatever the fuck it's called. I can't think of off the top of my head.
No, you're right.
It's too late. Super Mario World or whatever. And then I think after that, which this will be a hot take, but Mario Sluggers for GameCube was so much fun to me. I mean, I was a young kid who loved baseball, and that game was just so much fun for me. So I loved it.
You didn't even pick a classic Mario platformer party game. You picked fucking that's like picking Mario. That's like picking Mario and Sonic at the Olympics as your favorite.
My taste has always been in the newer stuff because when I was a kid, I could now I can appreciate classic stuff, but when I was a kid, I can never really appreciate it. So in my head, like Super Mario Sluggers has always just been an awesome game. I'm sure if I played Mario Sluggers now, it would suck, which is probably why I'll never play Mario Sluggers ever again. But when I had it and when I played it on GameCube, it was fun as shit.
I mean,
I loved hitting home runs. Like you hit a home run, it was just like it was the best feeling. because when you're that young, there's really no other good baseball games. Like I sucked at MLB The Show when I was 10 years old.
You didn't play backyard baseball, or is it like with the little kids like
Oh,
Jose?
backyard. Okay, well, backyard
Jose
baseball
was
was
a
good
superstar,
too.
man. Jose was a superstar.
You mean Pablo Sanchez?
Pablo
Pablo
yeah.
Sanchez.
He was a
And-
superstar slugger.
And he was little, and you had to play him at catcher, otherwise he was terrible at everything.
Yeah, you didn't want him to his knees or him to take the necessary punishment across it. Like you had to take the long-term outlook with a 10-year-old.
Right.
But I thought I had the hot take with Sunshine Sluggers, man. I mean,
Sluggers is it's my 5. It's not my number 1 because I went 1 to 5 again. But
okay.
I still think it's my 5th favorite. Mostly because I haven't really played a lot of Mario. I've been a PlayStation guy pretty much my whole life. So I'm not very well versed in the Mario world, but I loved Mario Sluggers when I had it.
Did you play Super Mario 3D World, like the newest platformer for
No,
Wii U?
I haven't played that one.
Okay, well, fuck me then, I guess. You guys can weigh in, listeners. You guys can weigh in on your favorite Mario game. Say why we're absolutely wrong. Why Adam has awful taste. Why I have awful taste. Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario Sluggers. I don't think anybody said that twice in the same Mario conversation of their favorite Mario games.
I'm glad that we could.
We have bad taste, actually.
I'm glad we could present these hot takes, though. That's what we're here for.
No one's. That's always few. We don't have any original content or analysis. We just have hot takes that draw people over. That's our thing. That's our shtick, right?
Come for the hot takes. Stay for the bad opinions on cold pizza.
Okay, well, we're gonna finish it off. Bad opinions. We're gonna finish it off on that. Listen, I'm 3-1 in that aspect. I'm 3-1. I
got the win today.
So our first three guests all liked cold pizza, and Twitter's biggest Kings fan and hockey fan also likes cold pizza. I mean, he was a guest, so I'm using him twice. But you could take the victory today, man. But the war still goes on. All right?
What have you done for me lately? That's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, we're gonna finish it off. This has been the Second City. This has been the Second City Hockey Ice Cold Podcast. I'm Robert Zeglinski. You can follow me on Twitter at Robert Zeglinski. Literally, how my name is spelled Zeglinski, and I'm gonna get it right this time. For my co-host Adam Hess, you can follow him at Twitter at _ all lowercase Adam Hess. Got it. I'm looking at it right now.
There you go.
And follow us on Twitter, follow our work, follow us for our hot takes and our fantastic right opinions on cold pizza and bad Mario games. And check out our work on Second City Hockey at SB Nation, where we regularly glorify Marian Hossa and Jonathan Tate and Tavo Teravainen. He's our special boy. Check all that stuff out. This has been the Second City Hockey Ice Cold Podcast. Robert Zeglinski for Adam Hess. Signing out. Stay classy, everyone.